Anyone who appreciates fresh food has experienced the paradox: a visually perfect ruby red supermarket tomato that tastes of little more than water, contrasted with a lumpy, imperfect heirloom from a home garden that explodes with an unforgettable sweet and tangy flavor. This difference isn't just about freshness, it's a story about how that food was grown. While the round one debates comparing hydroponics and soil, focusing on metrics like yield, water usage, and space efficiency, are well-trodden ground, this investigation dives into a far more passionate, subjective, and scientifically complex arena. Which method produces better tasting food? This is the Taste Test Edition. The conflict is typically framed between two opposing philosophies. On one side is Team Soil, championing the romantic and complex notion of terroir. This is the argument that flavor is more than just a checklist of nutrients, it is an expression of a unique place, a somewhereness born from the chaotic living ecosystem of the earth, creating a depth and nuance that cannot be chemically replicated. On the other side is Team Hydroponics, arguing for precision, control, and the unlocking of pure genetic potential. This philosophy posits that by providing a plant with a perfectly calibrated diet and an optimized environment, one can express its true, clean flavor, unmasked by the so-called dirt tastes of the soil. However, the answer is not a simple knockout victory for either contender. The truth is far more intricate and interesting, lying at the intersection of taste science, the specific needs of each crop, and, most critically, the skill and dedication of the grower. This report will dissect the evidence, from the molecular level to the sensory panel, to determine what truly makes for a perfect bite. Before comparing growing methods, it is essential to understand what taste actually is. It is not a single sensation, but a complex symphony of chemical signals interpreted by our brain. The perception of deliciousness hinges on a delicate balance of three core components: sugars, acids, and aromatic compounds. Sugars provide the foundational sweetness we crave. In the food industry, this is often quantified using the Brix scale, or degrees Brix. A Brix measurement, taken with a device called a refractometer, indicates the percentage of soluble solids in a liquid, which in fruits and vegetables are primarily sugars. A higher Brix value generally correlates with greater sweetness, and is used as an objective marker for potential quality. Acids contribute the sourness, or tang, that provides balance and brightness. The interplay between sugars and acids, the sugar-to-acid ratio, is arguably more important than the absolute value of either. A high Brix tomato can taste flat and one-dimensional if it lacks acidity, while a tomato with a lower Brix can be perceived as wonderfully flavorful if it has the right acidic kick to complement its sweetness. Volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, are the secret weapon of flavor. These are, hundreds of different airborne molecules that create a plant's unique aroma. Because our senses of smell and taste are neurologically linked, these VOCs are responsible for the vast majority of what we perceive as complex flavor. The grassy note in olive oil, the fruity essence of a strawberry, or the pungent kick of an onion. Plants are chemists, building these sugar, acid, and aromatic molecules from the elemental nutrients they absorb from their environment. A plant is not just eating to live, it is gathering the specific raw materials needed to construct its own unique flavor recipe. The availability and balance of these nutrients are therefore directly tied to the final taste of the produce. So this establishes a critical foundation for the entire debate. A plant's roots absorb nutrients as simple inorganic ions dissolved in water. The plant itself does not distinguish whether a potassium ion originated from decomposed organic matter in soil or from a mineral salt in a hydroponic solution. The fundamental difference between the two systems, therefore, is not the type of nutrition at the atomic level, but the delivery system. You see, soil utilizes a complex, buffered biological delivery system, while hydroponics employs a direct, controlled chemical one. The central question of this report is which delivery system is superior for creating flavor. The most passionate argument for soil-grown produce centers on the concept of terroir. This French term, which translates roughly to a sense of place, encapsulates the idea that food can express the unique character of the land where it was grown. While most famously associated with wine, terroir actually applies to all agricultural products, from coffee to cheese to vegetables. It's really the sum of all environmental factors that influence a crop's final characteristics. So, let's break it down. First, there's soil composition. The type of soil, whether it's limestone, clay, gravel, or sand, affects water retention, root development, and the mineral profile that's available to the plant. This can have a direct impact on taste. For example, there are anecdotal reports of potatoes from mucky soils tasting, well, kind of like mud, while the same variety from sandy soils can taste exceptional. Then there's climate. Macro and microclimates, including things like temperature, sunlight, and rainfall, dictate how a plant ripens, and that affects the final balance of sugar and acidity. Topography also plays a role. The elevation, slope, and orientation of the land influence sun exposure and water drainage, creating unique growing conditions even over short distances. And finally, local organisms matter too. The surrounding flora, fauna, and, most importantly, the microorganisms in the soil all contribute to the plant's environment. The scientific heart of the terroir argument really lies in the soil microbiome. Soil isn't just an inert substrate, it's actually a teeming, complex ecosystem containing billions of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms. This soil food web performs a critical function. It breaks down complex organic matter and minerals into the simple, plant-available nutrient ions. And this whole process creates a slow-release, biologically complex nutrient profile that's incredibly difficult to perfectly replicate with bottled chemical fertilizers. So, recent science has given us a sort of smoking gun that links this microbiome directly to flavor. A 2021 study on tomatoes published in Frontiers in Plant Science made a pretty groundbreaking discovery. It found that while the growing method didn't significantly alter the total amount of aromatic compounds, the type of compounds was different. The bacterial communities in the soil-grown tomatoes were more diverse and complex, and these specific bacteria were correlated with higher concentrations of voces described as green and pungent. Most strikingly, a specific strain of Bacillus bacteria was found exclusively in the sweetest of the soil-grown tomato cultivars, and its presence was directly correlated with higher sugar levels and desirable aroma compounds. So this suggests that the complexity of soil-grown flavor is not some mystical quality, but actually a measurable outcome of all the biological interactions happening right there in the root zone. The foundational argument for hydroponics, honestly, is efficiency. In a hydroponic system, nutrients are dissolved in water and delivered directly to the plant's roots in their most bioavailable ionic form. The plant doesn't have to spend a lot of energy developing a massive root system to search for food like it does in soil. This saved energy can be redirected toward vegetative growth and, really importantly, the production of fruit and flowers. That's actually why hydroponic plants often grow up to 50% faster and produce higher yields than their soil-grown counterparts. A skilled hydroponic grower, in a way, can act as a personal chef for their plants, tailoring the nutrient solution to the specific needs of each growth stage. A plant in its vegetative phase needs a different nutrient ratio than one that's flowering or fruiting. By providing this precise diet on demand, the grower can, at least in theory, guide the plant toward its peak flavor expression. A common refrain among hydroponic proponents is that their produce offers a cleaner or purer taste. This argument posits that soil itself can impart an earthy or dirt flavor that, depending on one's preference, can mask the subtle and true aromatic profile of a given plant variety. By removing the soil variable entirely, hydroponics allows the plant's unique genetic fingerprint, its specific combination of terpenes and other volatile organic compounds, to be the star of the show. As one cannabis grower eloquently put it, hydroponics lets the terps do all the talking. The resulting flavor is often described as exceptionally crisp, fresh, and vibrant. This is where hydroponics moves beyond simply replicating ideal conditions and enters the realm of flavor engineering. A knowledgeable grower can use the system's controls to actively steer the taste of the final product. The primary tool for this is the manipulation of electrical conductivity, or EC. EC is basically a measure of the total concentration of dissolved mineral salts in the nutrient solution. During the fruiting stage of a plant like a tomato or strawberry, a grower can intentionally increase the EC of the solution. This creates a high salt environment, inducing osmotic stress. To overcome this and draw water into its roots, the plant is forced to produce and accumulate more sugars in its tissues. This process concentrates the sugars and other flavor compounds in the fruit, leading to a significantly higher Brix reading and, honestly, a much more intense flavor. This technique is a way to artificially and precisely induce the good stress that can occur randomly in soil. Furthermore, growers can fine-tune nutrient recipes to boost specific flavor outcomes. If sweeter tomatoes are desired, the potassium ratio can be increased. For more pungent herbs, ensuring an adequate supply of sulfur is key. This level of control really transforms the grower from a simple farmer into a flavor architect. The quality of the produce is no longer dependent on the innate properties of the land, but on the explicit knowledge and skill of the person managing the system. The grower, in effect, becomes the terroir. Theory and philosophy are compelling, but the ultimate verdict must come from the produce itself. An examination of the scientific and sensory evidence for 4 key crops reveals a nuanced and often surprising picture. No vegetable is more central to this debate than the tomato. Soil's claim is a deeper, more complex flavor with a superior sugar-acid balance. Meanwhile, hydroponics' claim is consistency and the potential for engineered sweetness through EC manipulation. The evidence, the 2021 Frontiers in Plant Science study, provides the most detailed comparison. It found that soil-grown tomatoes had significantly higher concentrations of sugars like glucose and fructose, while hydroponic tomatoes from the same cultivars accumulated significantly higher levels of organic acids, such as citric and malic. Critically, the overall aroma profiles, or the VOCs, were shaped more by the plant's genetics, the cultivar, than by the growing method. However, the unique soil microbiome was directly correlated with specific green and pungent flavor notes that were absent in the hydroponic samples. So the verdict is that soil appears to hold an edge in creating the classic, complex, and sweeter tomato flavor, largely due to the influence of its living microbiome. hydroponics can produce a tangier, more acidic fruit, but honestly, the blandness often associated with supermarket hydroponic tomatoes is likely a consequence of commercial varieties being bred for high yield and long shelf life, not for flavor. For leafy greens, the battle shifts from complexity to texture and nutrition. Soil's claim is that it's nutritionally superior, with more complex phytochemicals. On the other hand, hydroponics' claim is that it produces greens that are unbeatably crisp, clean, uniform, and fast-growing. So here's the evidence. This crop presents a fascinating contradiction. Back in 2011, a sensory study found that in a blind taste test, a panel of evaluators actually rated hydroponic, organic, and conventionally grown lettuce as equal in taste, odor, and texture. However, laboratory analysis tells a different story. Multiple studies confirm that soil-grown lettuce contains significantly higher levels of beneficial compounds like antioxidants, phenolics, flavonoids, chlorophyll, and beta-carotene. On the other hand, hydroponic lettuce grows much larger and faster, and has a higher moisture content. That probably explains its signature crispness, but it may also contribute to a more plain or watery perception for some people. So here's the verdict. While lab tests show soil-grown lettuce is nutritionally more complex, human tasters may not actually perceive a significant difference in flavor. The choice here really depends on your priorities. Do you want maximum phytonutrients from soil, or are you after a reliably crisp, clean, and rapidly produced product from hydroponics? After dissecting the science and the crops, a clear conclusion emerges. The grower's skill, knowledge, and attention to detail are far more influential on the final flavor than the growing medium itself. A master gardener tending to rich, living soil will produce far more delicious vegetables than a novice hydroponic grower, using an unbalanced nutrient solution, and a master hydroponic grower with a perfectly dialed-in system will outperform a soil gardener with depleted, lifeless dirt. The hydroponics versus soil debate often serves as a proxy for a more meaningful conflict: artisanal growing versus industrial agriculture. Many consumers believe hydroponic produce tastes bad because their primary exposure is to mass-produced supermarket tomatoes that have been engineered for yield, uniformity, and the ability to withstand cross-country shipping, not for flavor. Similarly, large-scale industrial soil farming that relies on synthetic fertilizers and ignores soil health can also produce bland, nutrient-poor food. The true champion of flavor is the dedicated home grower or small-scale artisanal farmer, whether they use soil or hydroponics, who prioritizes the following factors. Genetics, this is paramount. A flavorful heirloom variety will taste better than a bland commercial one, regardless of the growing system. Harvest time. Harvesting produce at its peak ripeness is essential for maximum sugar development and flavor. This is the single greatest advantage any home grower has over the commercial supply chain, which must pick produce underripe to ship it. Environmental control, optimizing light, temperature, and humidity has a profound impact on flavor. A hydroponic grower has more direct control, but a soil gardener in an ideal climate may achieve the same results naturally. Post-harvest handling, as many experienced growers note, how produce is stored, dried, or cured after it's picked can have as much of an effect on the final taste as how it was grown. The goal really shouldn't be to pit these two effective methods against one another, but rather to empower more people to grow their own food using the method that best fits their lifestyle and resources. Honestly, the only way to truly settle this debate is to conduct the experiment yourself. So, here's a guide to running a fun, fair, and semi-scientific taste test right at home. The key to any good experiment is, well, controlling variables. Try to find a local hydroponic farm and a local soil-based farm. Or hey, grow your own side by side. The most critical rule is to source the exact same variety of tomato, lettuce, or strawberry from both. Comparing a hydroponic celebrity tomato to a soil-grown brandywine is just not a valid test, and make sure both samples are at the same level of ripeness. To eliminate preconceived notions, the test must be blind. You cannot know which sample is which until after you have scored them. Have a friend or family member label the samples with neutral identifiers like A and B and keep the key hidden. Serve them in identical bowls or plates. And, don't forget to have water and plain crackers available to cleanse the palate between tasting each sample. Provide each taster with a scorecard. To avoid influencing each other's opinions, there should be no talking during the evaluation phase. Use a simple scoring system, such as a 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 scale, to rate each sample across several sensory categories. To add a layer of objective data, use a handheld refractometer. This affordable scientific instrument measures the Brix value, giving you a numerical score for the sample's sweetness. Calibrate the device with distilled water, extract a few drops of juice from your sample using a clean garlic press or blender, place the juice on the prism, and read the Brix value. For reference, a good tomato might be around 6 to 8 degrees Brix, while an excellent strawberry could be 14 to 16 degrees Brix. Okay, once all scores are recorded, let's go ahead and reveal the identity of samples A and B. Now let's compare those subjective scores with the objective Brix data. Did the sample with the higher Brix value always win the taste test, or, did factors like acidity, aroma, and texture play a more significant role in the overall preference? The entire debate between soil and hydroponics may soon be rendered obsolete by a new frontier in agriculture data. The future of flavor is not about the medium, but about information. So this emerging field, sometimes called cyber agriculture, is actually being pioneered at places like the MIT Media Lab's Open Agriculture Initiative. Researchers there are, using a combination of advanced sensors, robotics, and machine learning algorithms to analyze how even the smallest changes in a plant's growing environment can affect its internal chemistry. A landmark example of this is the MIT basil experiment. By growing basil in these controlled hydroponic food computers, researchers were able to test, honestly, millions of possible permutations of light exposure. Their algorithms discovered something no traditional farmer ever would have guessed. Exposing basil plants to light 24 hours a day with absolutely no dark period actually maximized the concentration of those flavorful volatile compounds that give basil its signature taste. The implications of all this are, well, pretty staggering. It suggests we can move beyond just optimizing for yield and actually start to design for things like flavor and nutrition. By creating precise light and nutrient recipes, we could enhance specific, desirable molecules in our food. This technology could be used to develop hyper-nutritious herbs with disease-fighting properties, or, to rapidly test how staple crops will respond to changing global climates. A process that would normally take decades out in the field. The journey from the complex, mysterious terroir of the soil to the data-driven precision of the food computer really represents a profound evolution in our relationship with what we eat. The ultimate winner of the taste test isn't actually a method, but rather the dedicated grower who understands the science and has the passion to create the best possible flavor. Whether that mastery is expressed by nurturing a living soil ecosystem or by perfecting a liquid nutrient solution, the goal is always the same: a truly delicious, satisfying, and memorable bite. The future honestly promises even greater control, potentially unlocking flavors we haven't even imagined.